Sheeba Chaddha, an actress that breathes life, spirit, and a spark into any character she plays, humanizing them and dignifying them in the most artistic way possible. She possesses such finesse in her craft that her act infuses emotions and moments that linger on. A seasoned actress, Sheeba has worked in a plethora of movies, TV shows, theatre productions, OTT shows, and short films. Her film credits boast of countless gems such as Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, Dum Laga Ke Haisha, Badhaai Ho, Gully Boy, and more. She has found adulation and success in OTT shows like Mirzapur, Taj Mahal 1989, Permanent Roommates, and multiple short films. Before we dive into this interview, please remember to check out Sheeba on her Insta channel Sheeba.Chaddha and check out links to her incredible works in the bio provided below this video. Now sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy this interview. Welcome to What's Up with Vasant, Sheeba Chaddha. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Vasant. It's good to be here. And I hope you all are good over there.
Yes, we're trying to be. Congratulations on Taj Mahal 1989. Splendid performance.
Actually, I'm quite astounded by just the volume of feedback and the nature of the feedback.
Sure.
It's very heartening, particularly because I can safely say this is one work which is truly very, very close to my heart. It's a work I really feel genuinely just deeply grateful to have managed to portray.
Let's start with your origins. So, where were you born and where did you grow up?
Saharanpur, born in Saharanpur, which
Uttar
is
Pradesh.
UP. But very still, I was about 3 or 4, and then we all moved to Delhi. So essentially, a Delhi girl.
Oh, acha.
Yeah, but now I've been in Bombay last about 22 years, I think. 22 years. Yeah. But grew up largely grew up education, everything in Delhi.
Okay, nice. So can you tell us a bit about your family?
Fully Sardar family. I'm a total Gursikh, like all sides, business family, nothing to do with the arts. So initial time was very difficult to get into theatre because there's no connection whatsoever with the arts in a family. It's totally business.
Yeah.
So I was like this real aberration, and you just couldn't get me. And of course, at that time in Delhi, I'm talking about 80s, late 80s, early 90s, theatre, girl, going out, late time rehearsal, all that. Tough. It was tough. So the family was, but I had a working mother always. That was lovely. It's not conservative like that, but still conservative in that. There's no connection, so there's no exposure to this kind of world. Art and theatre was quite a thing.
So what was the allure for you? Like, how did you get into it then?
How did I get into it? I had a friend whose boyfriend was into theatre, yeah. So I got exposed to theatre largely like that, but also we had neighbors who had actually taken me to see my first play ever, and I do remember literally. Shriram Center was this very famous theatre in Delhi. I just do remember seeing the first play, and it's like one of those moments that you really remember in life. They don't leave you. So I remember that feeling that whatever this is, I need to be a part of this world. I didn't know how. What
was it? Main Ladli Maina Teri?
Oh my God, that information you have. Yeah.
I've dug a bit deep. I have my sources.
Okay. Sheila Bhattia's play, that one. And I'm just blown.
How was the times then in Delhi? Obviously, Delhi has changed a lot. Like, what memories do you have of doing theatre at the time? Being in Hansraj. Any fond memories from that time?
Oh, it was just lovely to be in the churning of it at that time. Literature was happening in college, so there was that literature that was happening, and then it was a very rich, fertile time. I remember that. Like I was from a convent school, so it was a very different kind of education. Carmel convent, very all girls. Suddenly, from that to college was like, wow, it was just lovely. I remember, I can be nostalgic about school. but I'm
Right, right.
nostalgic about college because it
Okay.
was just a time in my life which I think creativity was really expanding.
Yeah,
Exposure
yeah.
to the life and world of art was really expanding, and I was
Sure.
fortunate enough to just get these influences all over. So I think I was like a sponge at that time. Really,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
yeah, just
Uh,
a
the f-
lovely time.
the first time I went backstage, for a play that I was helping out with. I was just an assistant on the sidelines that was trying to help out, and I'd never been to an auditorium on the behind the scenes, and I was so completely fascinated by it. I don't know what it is about the place when the arc lights come on and when you're just even before the people start pouring in, even if you were to be rehearsing, for instance, there's something very magical about that feeling. Did you have that kind of a thing for theater, that hunger for it, that just
Of course, yeah. I think everybody who um, gets connected with theater knows that feeling. Huh?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
that feeling of it's yeah,
It's
it's
some
that
outer worldly
magic, yeah, which we
something.
know. And yeah, it is, it really is. You even like I do theater a lot less now, but
Right, right.
that that thing I know, the
Hmm.
that allure of that beast I know.
Sure,
It's
sure.
just something else. Yes.
So you mentioned literary work, so I'm imagining that those were your initial influences. So could you elaborate a bit upon what nature they were? Was it Hindi literature, poetry, or so on and so forth,
Not
or English?
so much Hindi. School, college was happening was English literature. That was my
Sure.
major. So it was
Hmm.
literature. It was just lovely, just the absurd, the classical, a lot of poetry, imagism. It's just lovely time
Hmm.
in terms of that. Hindi, in terms of the theatre group that I was working with, used to
Sure.
translate a lot of absolutely supreme French literature like
Hmm.
Genet, Sartre, and we did Godot as well, Beckett, into Hindi.
Oh,
So
acha.
largely, that used to be beautiful translation by Rajat Kapoor, the
Yes, of
filmmaker.
course. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and the actor. Yeah, so he's from that same group. So he
Hmm.
was very active and he was a major translator, and he's translated some beautiful Genet and
Hmm.
Beckett and all, and that used to happen in Hindi. But
Right.
the college theatre was all in Angrezi.
Acha, acha.
So yeah, rest of yeah.
So how did movies and Bombay happen?
Ah, because yeah, after a point, then there's now work. Not professionally, you cannot pursue performance or acting at that
Sure.
time in Delhi because it doesn't quite have an industry. You can train over there, but you can't
Yeah.
really earn a living. So by that time, this whole television thing had started in Bombay. This boom, of this
Yeah, yeah.
television thing started. So one just thought, I'll just go and try and I will see. अगर कुछ होता है 1.5 महीने में तो ठीक है नहीं तो I'll just come back and
Acha.
yeah, because literally what do you do then, once
Yeah.
you done college. I
Absolutely.
didn't want to get into teaching or anything.
Mainstream.
I
Yeah.
knew that yeah, performance is an area, but it was still so new.
Yeah.
So you just try, and Bombay had started this television, so I just came here thinking I'll try and see how it is.
Right.
And yeah, it just worked out. Yeah.
So then, when you moved to Bombay, I understand it was Yari Road,
Yeah,
Andheri.
always from beginning. Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
So then there must have been a lot of rounds you must have made of Aram Nagar and so on and so forth for auditions.
That time, Aram Nagar wasn't quite the thing that it is now. Wow, I'm surprised you know this sitting over there. So Aram Nagar is quite the adda now of
Hmm.
the hub of so many offices, meetings, and
Sure.
little performance areas. But us time nahi tha Aram Nagar.
Acha, ऐसा नहीं था. Acha.
Nahi, but Yari Road was and still is quite the adda of film will staying in.
Acha. Yeah.
वो तो है ही, अभी भी है.
But
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of actors talk about their struggle periods and don't necessarily call them a struggle period sometimes. Did you have any such experiences transitioning to the city, or was it very smooth for you from the beginning?
I really feel again just really fortunate. It's grace, and truly it's just a lot of gratitude that in the 1 month that I did come here, and I said, "Agar nahi kuch hua to I'll go back." I did manage getting substantial enough work in the
Wow.
first 1 month. No, this just it's really there's no reason why
Right.
I think that happened. It's
Just
just
fell from the
actually I
sky.
believe it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's meant to be. I
Sure,
really
sure.
believe that. Otherwise, yeah, I don't understand how actually actors get jobs still in this
Yeah.
city. I still don't. I don't get the science of it.
Sure, sure.
So I really believe it's something else. It's beyond understanding, because many of us can be doing all the right things and still not be doing work,
Yeah,
and many
yeah.
of us who do nothing and still. So it's quite a crazy. I never get the science of it. I don't know how it works.
Right, right.
So whatever it is that makes it work, it worked by grace, and in the first 1 month I had substantial enough work to stay back. Yeah.
And was this did this work come in the form of Dil Se? Was that your first
No,
job?
it wasn't. Actually, a lot of people think Dil Se is my first film. It's not. Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam is my first film.
Oh, okay.
Dil Se happened after that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first film that I got when I came here. It was Sanjeela Bansali's film.
So how was that experience working on a very big set? I mean, coming from a theater background and then coming into a big production unit, the type that Sanjay Leela Bansali is famed for making.
Yeah, it was quite crazy. Yeah, it's like it's another kind of experience only. No, totally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that film is also like quite a it's a thing. Have you seen that film?
Of course, yeah.
No,
Blockbuster.
you've
Yeah, yeah.
seen it, acha.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so like it's such a it's very opposite of like realisticness
Of
or
course, yeah. Mhm.
the pitch is very high. It's a very like operatic and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so a little bit. So you don't even realize how you just you get into it. You don't realize
Sure.
it. So you don't question that thing of how operatic it is actually. But
Yeah.
माहौल ऐसा होता है कि आप उसी के अंदर घुस जाते हो.
I like
So
how
that
I like how you're using the word operatic. It's a very
yeah.
interesting analogy.
Yeah, I think that's how his films are. Yeah, they're so opera-like. No,
Yeah,
there's no there's no even pitch, or everything is so larger than life, and
yeah,
that's him, and that's how his cinema is. No,
yeah,
it's
yeah, absolutely.
and you get sucked into that and very ekdam se.
Got it.
And he's of course he's this lovely madman, um,
Right, right.
and very very wonderful with. I think he really truly respects talent. Yeah.
Right, right. And it's interesting. We talked about Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, but because I have gone through your filmography and I've seen a lot of your work from the late '90s and onwards, you've chosen to do parts that are significant in telling a story. That's not just fiction, right? So you've been a part of almost docudramas in a way. Parzania, for instance, Dil Se, for instance. These movies obviously had a political message as well. Maybe the kinds of movies that may not be made today because of the political environment. I think that there's a lot of sensitivity around what artists could make or be associated with. So how was it associating with that form of cinema?
You know, I, it's not something that one went out and you know um, asked for, attracted, or wanted. It's truly in the way it works for most actors like us. I feel is it's really what is offered to you,
Yeah,
and you pick and choose. I think that's how I work, at least, and I'm sure many of us do. We pick and choose out of what is best for us
got it,
at that time.
got it.
So it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like I said I want to do a film which has a essential politically strong core, or
Sure,
that
absolutely.
has a political voice. ऐसा कुछ intent नहीं था. It's literally what came, and then it sort of made sense, and one
Made
did it.
sense. Yeah,
But it's great to be I think part of a film like
yeah.
Barzania again, just so valid today.
Right.
That film. They'll say, yeah, again, actually, I hadn't given this a thought really. Yeah, but so valid today, yeah.
Yeah, very formidable works and cult classics now, and very interesting roles as well. Along the way you've done, but then I also noticed in your filmography that there are a lot of actresses in this industry, but very few that really have the caliber, the potential the might and the sort of depth as you bring, or a Shefali Shah brings, or a Tiska Chopra brings, you know. And there's a dearth of roles, which obviously has been discussed a lot about. So, what's your take on how, you know, female representation in movies is works? It's typically very shallow, it's superficial, there's not a lot of layering. Where do you think we're missing the beat?
Uh, you're talking about particularly actors like us, or are you talking just generally? You're talking, speaking generally, right?
Actually, yeah,
About
that's
how
a good
precise.
that's a good question. I'll bifurcate that. So the one
Hmm.
aspect of it is female representation in general. The other
Hmm.
aspect of it is to not really use or leverage, you know, the sublime sort of talent that we have in the forms of people like you. So I'm talking about.
No, but I'm saying generally speaking, though, still now, at least for sure, it has been said hundreds of times now. Of
Yeah,
course, there's better stuff being written uh, with women, around women now. Of
yeah,
course, you know,
yeah, yeah,
we know that it's happening. Lot of um, uh, there are voices now which are female voices,
sure.
female women who are actually turning producers, which is wonderful. I mean, I find that so fabulous. um, of course, in the last some years, we know there is more of a female presence, there's more of a female voice.
Yeah,
It's strong. You can't ignore it anymore.
yeah,
Yet I'm sure that somewhere it's still forms a pretty small part of the entire male ethos,
yeah,
which it truly is still.
yeah,
It is still a male bastion.
yeah.
What to say? I don't know. Yeah, I believe it would be great if it was a more powerful a change now. It would
Yeah.
be great to see that change. Having said, I don't know what I mean really when I say that. I think it would just be where we're not even talking about this stuff anymore. We still
Mm.
talk about this stuff. Yeah, what do you think about the female voice? What do you think about the female? And I wish we came to a space fast now where this was
Yeah.
not even an
A
issue, not
topic of
even a thing.
discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, really. But I see. I reckon it will still take
Right. Because, you
time.
know, when you watch international cinema, and I do a bit of that, I find that women or female characters that are in the age bracket of 45 to 60, or even 35 to 50, they have very strong characters. They have very independent roles that they get to play, actresses overseas. And they don't necessarily need to be a middle-aged married woman who's a middle-class woman who's toiling away in the kitchen and has this husband who is, you know, mad drunk and spoiled. And then we keep talking about the same sort of a story over and over again. You know, here you could have a woman who's actually playing something on her own. She's independent. She could be an investigator, she could be a cop, she could be a journalist, she could be a politician. And then the entire story is built around it without her needing a male companion, and for her to play second fiddle and then talk about her voice. I feel largely, even in Indian cinema today, when you mention that women are being heard, I think that they're still being resolved. They are being heard. That's a good thing. But I think the kinds of roles that are getting created are still the mothers, still the bahus, still the aunts, you know, which is good. It's a start. But
No, there are other roles getting created now. Of course, we are. No, we see a Sand Ki Aankh, we see a lot of Kangana, the kind of stuff
yes,
that she does
Kangana.
in the
Yeah.
mainstream. There is stuff, Hamtapsi, the kind of work that we see happening there, or Radhika. It's still this one, like you started off saying with the age thing, for example. This
Yeah.
preoccupation with youth. Till till it's a male bastion, till everything is viewed through the male gaze, through a male, literally a male gaze. That's not going to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
It's a very, we don't age well over here. Everything in the preoccupation with youth is intrinsically a very strong outcome, I feel, of the male gaze.
Yeah.
How the male is viewing the woman, obviously. So that is there. It's still there. So. Yeah, I think a lot of turning around will have to happen for the comfort of, like you said about Hollywood. More age. Age is you see, women, older women playing seriously substantial roles as a protagonist.
Sure.
Not to say that there's not a lot of male gaze in Hollywood.
Oh no, I think that is super skewed even in Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So till that, it's everything is it's still a male bastion,
Yeah,
and so,
fair enough.
Yeah, this huge preoccupation with youth, this all that is There's unapologetically female presence and unapologetically female driven content where we don't even think about it. It is like the other is, so it is. I feel it will be a while since that happens. It'll be lovely to see that. Though. Yeah.
Okay, now let's change gears, get into a bit about your acting style, right? So how do you define your, I know this is a very organic thing and that every performance is very unique, but then how do you have an acting style? Do you have a preparation style? How do you pursue a role? How do you prepare for it?
I can safely say I don't prepare.
Okay.
It's like when I read it, something will click. It'll click, and then just it's a very organic, some sense of what it will be. Who this person will be.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't take any building blocks and start creating it in my head before I get to the set to do it.
Sure.
I don't do that. But obviously, when I read it, then something gets internalized about it. I don't know still what it is. So I still also don't understand how this thing of get into character, you become the character. I don't know. Genuinely, I do not know. I'm sure there is something to it. I don't know how to access it, or I don't know if it's my being or my instinct to access it. So it's truly, I can say it's a bit of lazy, organic way I go about it, and that's really the truth. I don't work or pre-build anything.
Yeah.
Just a sense is what I have. I just have a sense of this character when I get on the set, and then it's really being present and responsive in the moment. Really. When the camera is on and your co-actor is there or you're alone, but just to the truth of that moment, if I can try and just be present to that, that's my work, I feel.
Very interesting. And I try to observe actors closely as much as possible. And I find that you're one of those few actresses that's super unique in your ability to emote through the eyes. I think that you speak a lot through your eyes, which is not a quality that everyone is gifted with. So how do you use your eyes, and would you agree with that? Would you agree that
not consciously at all? I mean, I'm not consciously at all. So I think it's really linked to what I just said. It's for me, if I'm present at that moment, then it's not like कि आँख कुछ अलग कर देगा, है ना? सभी कुछ comes together then to try to arrive at the truth of that thing. What is to be that experience at that time, which hopefully I will have. So somebody who's watching will share that experience, is the best I can say. So it's never in my head that I have to emote using my eyes or emote using my hands. Organically, I hope as actors, it sort of fits together and falls into place. It can be the way anything is, but the way my shoulder will be, or the way an actor's eyes will be, or anything. But it just has to fit together to convey the truth of that experience at that time. And
makes sense.
Really,
makes sense.
Yeah.
And when you talk about actually enacting and being there in the moment, again, I find that and I mentioned this to you in the email that I'd sent to you when I was trying to connect about how you bring in a certain type of realness, which is not completely real to a point that it's disengaging, but it's not dramatic in the style that it comes across as an effort of you acting. which I find is that perfect blend of the two. So how do you get into that zone of being able to blend the two? Or would you even agree with
Not
me?
consciously. I mean, not consciously again at all. It's not a thing that I have to um, portray something uh, on a tightrope realistic way. You know,
Hmm.
it's truly. mm I don't have ever a style in my head, ever a yeah, a style or a school that I want to employ, or ideology I want to employ to convey something.
Yeah.
Um, it's just really to try and be as truthful as I can be at that moment, and stuff, because it requires immense presence, and it
Yeah.
requires magic.
Hmm.
And the magic you have no control over. That some days will happen, and some days you can do all what you're doing, pull all the tricks that you know, and it's just not going to work.
So
It's
then
like
when it
some
does
days
not
it'll be
happen, when it does not happen on some days, is it
it's
nerve
really
wracking
bad.
because everyone's looking at you and everyone's ready with their camera, the lights, the sound and everything. So many eyes on you. Does that freak you out?
Yeah, like, because you know that you've not quite landed it, and I think it's true for most actors that we are never happy with what we do. Yeah, yeah, but there's nothing much you can really do if it's not that day. कृपा नहीं हो रही तो फिर नहीं हो रही. I don't know what to say.
So you have a formidable body of work. You've done a lot of diverse roles across, so many types over the last 20 years. Plus, do you have any favorite co-stars? People that you've really enjoyed working with and look forward to always working with?
Yeah, the one I really want to work with has died,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
But you came
Yeah,
close to it in Kali Salwar.
yeah, I did to work to in fact, yeah, we did Kali Salwar, which is Farida had directed that for NBC. It's based on Manto stories, where we had a very brief interaction, and I've forgotten it, and I want to see the film again.
Yeah.
In fact, I have just contacted Sadia Siddiqui, who's playing the lead in the film with him, and to say that, do you have a copy of that film, because I've lost the director's number. So she has some CD, she told me. So I'm going to get my
Yeah.
hands on it and see it again.
Yeah.
But there is something which we had done called Bogie Number 13 with UTV some 100 years back, Irfan and I. And it was just Irfan and I shooting for this episodic thing in Goa with director Shivam Nair. And it was just him and I. And he was playing, I think, an investigator, and I was playing a nun. And we shot in the most amazing of, like, they got these old seminaries in Goa, where priests are trained, and all those old, I don't know how they got permission to shoot in those kind of at that time. And the saddest part is that, and I can say it on a public forum because I really want to take it up with UTV actually, which has become, I think it's been bought over by Disney now. It never saw the light of day. So it's entirely shot, ready piece of work which has not seen the light of day. And I haven't even been paid for it. I must say that to you.
That sucks.
And
that just sucks.
That really sucks. And I
can't even imagine the pain of that.
Yeah, I just requested the EP, whose number I got through Shivam this time, to share some images if they had, and they sent me some images of just Irfan and I shooting. And I really want to request, I'm going to get in touch with somebody and just need to see if they just must get it out. Yeah, it's just beautiful, beautiful piece of work.
Sorry, go on about Irfan Khan.
Yeah, no, so this, so him, he's
such a tragic loss. I don't think there can ever be a replacement to an actor like that or a human being like that too. Just a wonderful. I didn't even know him personally, but it just comes across. The day of his passing, I remember the next 2 days, I was just not able to do anything. When I say this, I genuinely mean it. I'm sure there must have been millions of people like that around the world, but people who have worked with him or known him personally, like you, must have obviously must have had it really bad. So
yeah, he's something. What replace him, meaning how's it? You can't. What can we even say of that? He's he broke the mold. Yeah, he was just only one like him.
Yeah,
and the more I'm listening to more and more of his interviews these days, it's just his quest in life, of just his sheer wisdom as a human being, as an actor, as a performer, and as a human being. Just his wisdom, his knowledge, his intelligence, his innate, instinctive, just visceral intelligence is blowing my mind. I'm just yeah.
So who else? Anyone else whose works have inspired you or you enjoyed working with?
There are all such talented people around there. It's insane, You just look around and it's like they all just have so many, and I love to watch Manoj Vajpayee's performances. Actually, for socially has hung and all, but just some days back I saw Aligarh. This film, I'm blown by just the performance.
Is it something that you also kind of deal with sometimes when you look at your performances and you're wowed by it? And that's, I mean, I would completely understand if you would have it, that you would feel so proud of it that you feel like I am a pretty good actress. You know what I mean? So do you get I'm sure you feel that way because you should.
It's really truly, it's so that I think most actors are very critical of their work. I really think so. I'm very critical of my work, and it's very rare that it's like you see a film and I would say a film or series and I'll say ye to sab mein wah wah wah. It will always be like one shot here, one shot there, which one will like of one's work. Otherwise, it's like, what did you do? It's more like that, or like, come on, shut up. It's like that. But really, in a large singer work, it's really like some bits you like, It's rare that, like Taj Mahal for me is one work, just because it's been written that the character is only so fabulous that again it's like more than half your work is done. When they give you a character like that, which is written like that, see how much help an actor has. It's just fantastic.
It's humble of you to say that.
Is when they're crappily written things.
No, I think it's very humble of you to say that, but it must take so much out of you to be able to give a performance like that, especially since we brought up Taj Mahal now.
There's no one thing. I just really like that. I love that scene where she's actually reciting that poem where Neeraj comes to their house and she's just she's just reciting this. I think Faraz's poem. It is Ab ke bichde to khayalon mein. So she's just reciting, and then she sees the change in this guy Neeraj who's watching her, and she can sense a change as if something has moved him, or he's some sadness or melancholy has come over him. And she senses it, and then she just leaves both the friends alone to go, so that that moment he can explore. It's nothing. It's something banal, but it's so beautifully written. And of course, it's poetry. So poetry is just lovely. So it was just lovely to do that work. Really
so aside from Taj Mahal, when we go back to your movies, what particular performances did you enjoy the most, or what roles rather did you enjoy playing the most?
Tamlaga Ke Aisha was good fun. I like that because it's again there was such. It was again a really good script, a good director, lovely. And we shot in Rishikesh and Haridwar, which is fabulous when you're very lucky to go and shoot in such places. Sanjay Mishra, I'm a big fan of Sanjay's. I mean, such great actors all around here. There's Ayushman, Bhumi, Alka ji, it's just Seema ji. There's just, what do you want? You just get propped up so nicely by these guys that you're like, oh, it's good to be there and do a little bit only and you shine, because they're just so good, all of them. They make you look good, So it's it was great work,
Nice. Okay, so now we'll move on to the last leg of this interview, which is about web content and OTT platforms and how you made that segue into that sort of aspect of your career. So when did this transition start and what got you interested in it?
Got you interested because it's the most I'm so glad it's happening. Yeah, as all actors now, they're so
Yeah,
happy that this OTT platform is there because again, I mean, something like a Taj Mahal, I'm again coming back to it. It's only possible because of this. Yeah,
yeah.
where
Right,
would
right.
I get a role to play like that in a film? I mean, I would love it, but I don't see that happening really. So sad, but
Sure.
it's true.
Yeah. So, thank you so much,
Hmm.
Sheeba Chaddha. It's been such a wonderful experience talking to you. I hope that you and your family stay safe and everything turns out well. And all the works that you have in the pipeline get released on time and that you get back to work and really enjoy what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time again.
Right. Thank you so much, Vasant. And I hope everybody enjoyed listening to us as much as I really enjoyed chatting. It's fun. It's late night here. I don't know what it is there, but it was just really enjoyable.
It's been a pleasure.
And I hope that everybody who heard us, if they like it, then they would like and subscribe to the show and to the channel. What's Up with Vasant, and yeah, more of all of this. And I hope you keep doing lovely interviews with
Thank
actors
you
you
so
enjoy
much.
talking to.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to start off now. Action. Okay. Oh, just sorry. One other thing.